Selection of learning experiences.
Content must be presented to students and students must be engaged with the content. At this point, the teacher selects instructional methods that will involve the students with the content.
Organization of learning activities.
Just as content must be sequenced and organized, so must the learning activities. Often, the sequence of the learning activities is determined by the content. But the teacher needs to keep in mind the particular students whom he or she will be teaching.
Evaluation and means of evaluation.
The curriculum planner must determine just what objectives have been accomplished. Evaluation procedures need to be designed to evaluate learning outcomes.
Tabber's model has much merit.
However, some argue that teacher involvement throughout the process assumes that they have the expertise and, perhaps more importantly, the time to engage in such an extensive and intensive curricular activity.
Teachers being involved in the early stages of curriculum development may not necessarily be an advantage, as it will not necessarily guarantee an effective curriculum since it is a highly specialized process.
However, it cannot be denied that curriculum development requires the involvement of many parties at various stages of the process.
It involves individuals from the central office or the Ministry of Education, district education officers, principals, teachers, community leaders, subject matter experts, academics and even students.
Usually, curriculum developers at the central office are given the task of directing those actions that bring together various participants in curriculum development.
Teachers may only be involved in implementing the curriculum while the main part of the curriculum is determined by the Ministry of Education, academics, content specialists and employers.
1. Explain why Tabber's model is called the grassroots model.
2. Do you think teachers should be the main decision makers in the development of a curriculum? Why?
3. To what extent are teachers involved in developing curriculum in your country?
The Saylor and Alexander model.
Galen Saylor and William Alexander viewed curriculum development as consisting of 4 steps.
According to them, curriculum is a plan for providing sets of learning opportunities to achieve broad educational goals and related specific objectives for an identifiable population served by a single school center.
Goals, objectives and domains.
The model indicates that curriculum planners begin by specifying the major educational goals and specific objectives they wish to accomplish.
Each major goal represents a curriculum domain and they advocate 4 major goals or domains: personal development,
human relations,
continued learning skills and
specialization.
The goals, objectives and domains are selected after careful consideration of several external variables such as findings from educational research, accreditation standards, views of community groups and others.
B. Curriculum designing.
Once the goals, objectives and domains have been established, planners move into the process of designing the curriculum.
Here, decisions are made on the appropriate learning opportunities for each domain and how and when these opportunities will be provided.
Will the curriculum be designed along the lines of academic disciplines or according to student needs and interests or along themes?
These are some of the questions that need to be answered at this stage of the development process.
C. Curriculum implementation.
After the designs have been created, the next step is implementation of the designs by teachers.
Based on the design of the curriculum plan, teachers would specify instructional objectives and then select relevant teaching methods and strategies to achieve the desired learning outcomes among students in the classroom.
D. Evaluation. Finally,
the curriculum planner and teachers engage in an evaluation. The model proposes that evaluation should be comprehensive using a variety of evaluation techniques. Evaluation should involve the total educational program of the school and the curriculum plan, the effectiveness of instruction and the achievement of students.
Through the evaluation process, the curriculum planner and developers can determine whether or not the goals of the school and the objectives of instruction have been met.
Wheeler's model.
In reacting to the simplicity of Tyler's model and its linear nature, Wheeler converts Tyler's original ideas into a cyclical form and offers a 5-stage model of the curriculum process. The model links up evaluation with the formulation of objectives to create a continuous cycle. Wheeler's model starts with the statement of aims, goals and objectives. Details of what is involved in the procedure of breaking down aims and goals into behavioral objectives are given.
The general aims of the school are analyzed and written as types of behavior which illustrate the general aims for end product of schooling.
These are further broken down into goals, which are applicable at different stages of learning, and further into goals achievable in shorter period of time, and lastly, into specific instructional goals.
Wheeler used 4 terms: ultimate, mediate, proximate and specific classroom objectives to describe the goals. In this process, the different levels of aims from the general to the specific.
His next stage is the selection of learning experiences, but he differentiated between learning experiences and content.
The next 2 stages in Wheeler's process are the organization and integration of learning experiences, and evaluation.
The model describes a process which is continuous and does not end at the evaluation stage.
There is no significant conceptual difference between this model and that of Tyler except for the cyclic nature of the curriculum process. The subsequent stages in the curriculum process all hinge on the aims, goals and objectives in the first step. Wheeler's model does not, however, bring out the dynamic interrelatedness.
Kerr's model.
Kerr proposed that an attempt should first be made at a synthesis of a model in brief outline dealing with objectives, knowledge, learning experiences and evaluation.
This is then followed by a consideration of the implications of the model for educational practice. Kerr, therefore, went beyond the basic model to develop a more complicated model in specific operational terms.
Kerr divided the domain of curriculum into 4 areas: objectives, knowledge, school learning experiences and evaluation.
A simplified version of Kerr's model of curriculum design is shown below.
The objectives are singled out as very important and should logically be the starting point of the model, because it is possible to start an analysis at any point. Kerr added that we cannot and should not decide what or how to reach any situation until we know why we are doing it.
Like Tyler, John Kerr also emphasized the objectives and understood them as changes in pupil behavior. He also specified the learner, society and disciplines as the source of objectives. This embraces the pupil's need and interest, the social conditions and problems which the learners are likely to encounter, the nature of the subject matter and the views of subject specialists.
Kerr classified the objectives into 3 groups:
Cognitive,
affective, and
psychomotor.
The model further indicates that knowledge should be organized, integrated, sequenced and reinforced.
School learning experiences are influenced by societal opportunities, the school community, pupil and teacher relationships, individual differences, teaching methods, content and the maturity of the learners.
These experiences are evaluated through tests, interviews, assessment and other methods.
It should be noted that the later models were developed either to supplement, complement or correct Tyler's model.
What is, however, common and important about both Tyler's model and the later models is that they have moved away from the very rudimental and narrow concept of the school curriculum, based purely on the content.
They look at the curriculum more broadly in considering subject matter, the learner, the learning process and learning conditions.
The models are mainly concerned with the change of behavior in the learner, the methods of learning such as the project work method, the inquiry method and the discovery method.
They have been criticized for paying very little attention to the content of what is to be learned. Above all, they are considered still simplistic in nature and fail to provide explicit criteria for various curriculum processes.
Curriculum scholars therefore continue to develop more sophisticated and guiding models for curriculum planning.
1. What is meant by domains in the Saylor and Alexander model?
2. What must teachers do to implement a curriculum?
3. What is the role of evaluation in the Saylor and Alexander model?
All models outline a sequence of steps to be taken in curriculum development. Interestingly, the Developmen model emphasizes the role of teachers in curriculum development while the Tyler model focuses on the two screens which objectives have to pass through. However, you should keep in mind that models often are incomplete. They do not and cannot show every detail and aspect of the complicated curriculum process.
To depict every aspect in detail of the curriculum development process would require an exceedingly complex and intricate model.
In looking at the three models, we cannot say that any one model is superior to another model.
Some curriculum planners have followed the Tyler model with considerable success.
But this does not mean that the Tyler model represents the ultimate in models for curriculum development or that all educators are satisfied with it.
Toby's model of curriculum development.